Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is my colleague, Adam Prince. Adam is a technical fellow and has a global remit and leads product management team in the Sage Service Fabric area. The Sage Service Fabric is a collection of best-in-class services to support common activities such as importing bank data, transferring funds, complying with tax reporting, enabling collaboration within the customer's business organization, and identity management. Adam is passionate about supporting others and is a Sage Foundation ambassador and member of the Sage Continuous Innovation community, which focuses on building better outcomes for our customers and supporting the wider communities we work and live in. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Adam Prince.
Nice to meet you, Ed.
Well, first off, Adam, why do you do what you do?
I have a constant ambition that when I was younger, I wasn't so public about, but it's to make myself redundant. And by that, I mean solve problems so that I can get on and solve the next challenge. I'm always after challenges, but very often you get bogged down in the detail. And I try and understand the root requirement and then deliver great solutions that mean I can then get on and understand the next challenge in the world.
And before we started talking, you had a real interesting concept that I wanted to ask you about, and that is, why is sitting with a customer better than just a video meeting?
It's something that I'm actually quite passionate about and try and talk to a lot of my colleagues about. When you sit on the end of a video, whether it's a Teams or a Zoom, you only see a very minimal slice. At best, you'll see a headshot. Quite often you only hear the audio even. When you can go out and actually see a user, a customer, anybody, you actually see what they're really doing in real life. You see the post-its, you see the printouts, you see the cramped space, the piles of documents, etc. And then you can ask the right question to actually understand not what they're telling you that they're doing, but actually why are they doing it the way they really do it. And that means you can come up with the great solution, the thing that makes their life easy, that delivers value so that they can get on and do stuff.
And is it about spatially making those connections with them? So, connecting why the Post-it note is on the left-hand side of the desk versus the right-hand. I mean, is it that detailed, or those are the things that you're looking for when you're sitting with a customer?
It might be, but it's really about the triggers. I mean, the number of times I've been out to customers, and I mean, I've worked in software and supply chains and finance for decades, but you think you've got a great solution, and then you go out there and you find that they've got bulldog clips with 5 printouts together. Why? Because you've got all the information they want, but it's really hard to link it in a way that when they're looking at one thing, they can see all the other stuff. You see the Post-its because actually they want to add a little bit of information, and you haven't provided a way for them to add information in whatever the context is. Or maybe they've collaborated and had a chat with, it might have been the supplier, the customer, somebody on the shop floor. It doesn't really matter who it is. And they've just got to keep a note, and they actually want to be reminded of that conversation. So filling in a field, yeah, you might be able to put notes on there, but what they really want is that nudge, that context of the wider collaboration. I mean, I'm lucky at the moment. I look after many different services in Sage, and a service is basically something that happens many times. So it doesn't matter which Sage product you're in. A lot of them do the same sorts of things, and we've moved beyond some of the more mundane stuff now. So I'm now working a lot with some of our machine learning and AI and data gathering. And again, there's patterns of stuff. Why have you got a box over there? Well, because I need to go back to it. Why do you need to go back to it? Because I'm looking for stuff to try and see if there's a pattern of it. Great. I can now work out there's a need there. Solutions either address opportunities or pains. Actually, salesmen do that as well. They'll either come out and sell you the benefit, or they'll solve a problem. We're going to make you money, or we're going to save you cost. Moving beyond that to driving that real value is what gets me out of bed. And that's what I love. And that's what you can really dig into when you see the way people work.
Is there a recent example that you can share, or something that you've seen and been able to bring to bear in and even maybe not necessarily completion yet, but that's making some headway in our products?
COVID has been a bit of a challenge to actually getting out to meet people. So I can't claim anything within the last few years.
Sure.
But even working within the limitations of Zoom, I found that you can have a lot of conversations. I mean, I've got a couple of products or services that we're bringing to market at the moment. But one of them is for the UK. It's going through a whole load of tax changes, something called Making Tax Digital. It doesn't really matter. But the way accountants and business owners need to work together is changing. It's evolving. And the traditional, here's a pile of invoices, the accountant takes them, they work with it, won't meet the legal requirements anymore. So how do you solve that in a way that doesn't add cost? Well, you enable collaboration. You also make sure that you've pulled everything together into one place. I was lucky enough that I was thinking about this slightly before the UK government was, and I've been out on the road and I was actually testing some designs with accountants and small business owners, etc. And getting their feedback meant that we could actually say, well, yeah, that's a good idea, but the users don't like it because they think about it slightly differently. I tend to think about different types of taxes. They don't. They actually think about what have I got to do tomorrow. And the only reason they care about it is because tax gets in the way of doing the stuff that makes them money. Well, I might get into business and get out of bed because I enjoy taxes, but there's not many of us. Let me put it that way.
And Adam, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
Today I'm going to pick Henry Ford. And he solved the problem of people want cheap cars. That wasn't the answer people gave him. You know, people wanted a blue car. They wanted a car that had a nice shiny running board back when running boards were a thing. And he said, well, actually, he's spoken to people. He was out there talking to them. And he understood actually what they want is a cheap, reliable car. And by building that empathy, he could then go away and, yes, he pretty much invented, he didn't invent the concept, but he invented the production line in the way we think about it. And that was because it's the way to solve it. He didn't invent cars. He didn't invent the production line. He certainly didn't invent the color black. But he pulled everything together. And so he made it into a nice cost-effective solution that I think it was 5 million cars he produced. And some of them are still running today. Now, that is an achievement.
And lastly, Adam, how can somebody contact you?
They can reach me. I'm Adam_Prince at Twitter. I'm linkedin.com/UK/Adam Prince, or I'm adam.prince@sage.com.
Outstanding. Adam Prince, Technical Fellow at Sage, and my colleague, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.